The conference room at Pemberton and Associates smelled like old leather and justice. I sat across from Mr. Pemberton, my grandmother's lawyer, watching him shuffle through a stack of papers while my father paced behind me like a caged animal. The mahogany table reflected our faces, mine calm, his twisted with rage. "This is impossible," Dad snarled for the 5th time. "Check again." Mr. Pemberton peered over his wire-rimmed glasses. "Mr. Winters, I've been your mother's attorney for 30 years. I assure you, the will is quite clear. But I'm her son." Dad slammed his fist on the table. "Meredith is nobody. She's not even family anymore." "Interesting," I said quietly, speaking for the first time since we'd arrived. "I thought dead people couldn't inherit anything. Isn't that what you said?" Dad's face went purple. "Don't twist my words." "I'm not twisting anything," I interrupted. "You said I was dead to you. Your exact words were, 'You're dead to me, Meredith.' Dead. You don't exist." You screamed it in front of 50 witnesses at the country club. You sent me a certified letter stating I was no longer your daughter. You told everyone who would listen that you had one child, Kyle. That was different, was it? I turned to Mr. Pemberton. "Tell me, when did my grandmother change her will?" The elderly lawyer suppressed what might have been a smile. 6 months ago, shortly after she received a very interesting letter from your father. Dad went still. "What letter?" "The one where you formally disowned your daughter," Mr. Pemberton said, pulling out a photocopy. "You were quite thorough. You stated that Meredith was dead to you, that she was no longer part of the Winters family, and that your mother should, and I quote, 'remove that ungrateful brat from any family considerations.' I hadn't known about the letter, but I wasn't surprised. When Dad cut someone off, he did it with the efficiency of a Fortune 500 CEO, which he was." Mrs. Eleanor Winters was displeased, Mr. Pemberton continued. "She asked me to investigate the circumstances. And," Dad's voice was strained, "and I discovered that your daughter's only crime was refusing to pay for your son's wedding. Let me rewind to a year ago when this whole mess started. I was sitting in my apartment, finally enjoying a quiet Saturday after a brutal week at the marketing firm I'd built from nothing, when my phone rang. Dad. I almost didn't answer. Our relationship had been strained ever since I'd refused to join the family company. But something made me pick up. "Meredith," he said without preamble. "Kyle's getting married. Congratulations to him," I said carefully. Kyle and I hadn't spoken in 2 years, not since he'd stolen my biggest client and laughed about it. The wedding is in June. Black tie affair at the Ritz-Carlton. 400 guests. Sounds expensive. $50,000, Dad said. "Which is why I'm calling. You'll be paying for it." I literally laughed. "I'm sorry, what?" "You heard me. Kyle needs this wedding for his image. The Henderson family has connections we need for the Singapore expansion. This is a family investment. Then the family company can pay for it," I said. "Or you can. You're worth, what, 20 million? That's not the point. You owe this family." "I owe." My voice rose. "For what? For working my way through college because you wouldn't pay after I chose marketing over business? For building my own company while Kyle got a VP position straight out of school? For being excluded from every family event because I wouldn't fall in line? You chose to abandon this family. I chose to live my own life. And now you'll choose to support your brother or face the consequences." "What consequences?" I asked. "You already cut me out of the will 3 years ago. You already banned me from family dinners. What's left? Are you going to double disown me?" That's when he said it. The words that would come back to haunt him. "You're dead to me, Meredith. Dead. You don't exist. As far as I'm concerned, I have one child, and his name is Kyle." He hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling free. Finally, officially free. What I didn't know was that my grandmother was listening on the extension. "Eleanor heard everything," Mr. Pemberton explained, pulling me back to the present. "She was visiting your father that day and picked up the upstairs phone when she heard shouting. After your father disowned you, she called me immediately. Mother had no right to eavesdrop," Dad muttered. "She had every right to discover her son was a bully," Mr. Pemberton said sharply. "She spent the next 6 months investigating. Do you know what she found?" Dad said nothing. "She found that Meredith built a successful company from nothing. That she volunteers at the women's shelter every weekend. That she paid off her student loans in 3 years. That she offered to help with your medical bills 2 years ago, Mr. Winters, and you refused because you were too proud to take money from the daughter you'd rejected. That's not. She also discovered, Mr. Pemberton continued, that Kyle has been embezzling from the family company. The room went silent. That's a lie, Dad whispered. I'm afraid not. Eleanor hired a forensic accountant. Kyle has stolen approximately $800,000 over the past 5 years. The only reason he needed Meredith to pay for his wedding was because he'd already spent the money he'd stolen on cars, gambling, and a mistress in Miami. I felt my jaw drop. I knew Kyle was selfish, but this? Furthermore, Mr. Pemberton said, Eleanor discovered that you knew about the embezzlement and covered it up. He's my son, and Meredith is your daughter. Or was, until you disowned her. Mr. Pemberton adjusted his glasses. Eleanor was very specific in her will. She left everything, the estate, the investments, the offshore accounts, to Meredith. The total value is approximately $4.5 million. But I'm her son. Dad's voice cracked. Yes, Mr. Pemberton agreed. A son who disowned his own daughter for refusing to enable his criminal son. Eleanor felt that Meredith was the only family member with integrity. What about blood? What about family loyalty? I stood up. You want to talk about family loyalty? Where was that loyalty when I graduated summa cum laude and you didn't come because Kyle had a golf tournament? Where was it when my company won the Pinnacle Award and you told everyone I got lucky? Where was it when I needed surgery and you said I should figure it out myself because adversity builds character? That's different. No, Dad. It's not. I turned to Mr. Pemberton. What about Kyle? Did grandmother leave him anything? A letter, the lawyer said, producing an envelope, and a check for $50,000. Dad lunged for it, but Mr. Pemberton handed it to me. She asked that Meredith deliver it. I opened the letter and read aloud. Dear Kyle, here is the money for your wedding. Consider it a parting gift. By the time you read this, the forensic audit of Winters Incorporated will be in the hands of the authorities. I suggest you use this money for a lawyer instead of a wedding. Love, Grandmother. P.S. Your sister Meredith offered to pay for your wedding out of kindness. You didn't deserve her generosity then, and you don't deserve it now. Dad sank into a chair. She called the authorities? 3 days ago, Mr. Pemberton confirmed. I believe they'll be arresting Kyle this afternoon. But, the Singapore expansion. We'll have to proceed without a VP who's heading to prison, I said. Funny how that works out. Meredith. Dad's voice was broken now. You have to help. Use the inheritance to save your brother. Save the company. Please. I looked at him, really looked at him. At the man who'd raised me to be strong, then punished me for that strength. Who'd taught me about family loyalty, then tossed me aside when I wouldn't play his games. I'm dead to you, remember? I said quietly. And dead people can't help anyone. I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. You meant every word. You were just so sure you'd never need me that you felt safe throwing me away. What kind of daughter are you? He was crying now, actual tears. I'd never seen him cry before. The kind you raised, I said. The kind who knows that sometimes the only way to deal with toxic people is to cut them off. You taught me that, Dad. I'm just a better student than you expected. I headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Dad? That $50,000 check for Kyle? I'm going to frame it, right next to the certified letter where you disowned me. It'll be a nice reminder. Meredith, please. Mr. Pemberton, I said, ignoring my father. Please proceed with the estate transfer. And if my father contacts you again, remind him that he was very clear. He has no daughter named Meredith. That was 6 months ago. The arrest made headlines. Winters Corp VP arrested for embezzlement. Kyle got 7 years. The company's stock tanked. Dad had to sell his country club membership and the vacation home to pay for lawyers and fines. He's tried to contact me 47 times. I know because Mr. Pemberton keeps a log. Each attempt gets the same response. Mr. Winters has confirmed in writing that he has no daughter named Meredith. I used part of grandmother's money to expand my business. We just landed 3 Fortune 500 clients. I bought a nice condo downtown and a beach house where grandmother and I used to spend summers. I donated $1 million to the women's shelter where I volunteer. The rest is in trust for the family I'll build someday, one based on love, not leverage. Last week, I saw Dad at a coffee shop. He'd aged 10 years and 6 months. His hair was completely gray, his expensive suit replaced by off-the-rack clothing. He saw me and started to approach, hope flickering in his eyes. I looked right through him like he was a stranger. Because he was right about one thing. I am dead to him. But I've never been more alive. Sometimes the best inheritance isn't money or property. Sometimes it's the freedom that comes from being disowned by people who never truly valued you anyway. And sometimes, when someone tells you you're dead to them, the best response is to live so well that they spend the rest of their lives haunted by the ghost of the child they threw away. Grandmother knew that. She saw what they did to me and made sure that their cruelty would be their downfall. I visit her grave every Sunday. I bring fresh flowers, yellow roses, her favorite, and tell her about my week, about the business, about the shelter, about the life I'm building without the family that never wanted me to succeed. Thank you, I whisper to the headstone, for seeing me when no one else did. I like to think she's somewhere, laughing at the poetic justice of it all. The disowned daughter inheriting everything. The golden son heading to prison. The patriarch who valued money over family losing both. Dead to him? Maybe. But I'm very much alive to everyone who matters. And that's worth more than $4.5 million. Though the money certainly doesn't hurt. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.